Hi everyone, I'm Joel Kleber from Gyms, and with me today is Jason Pollack, who is a franchisee in New Minor, and he's also the franchisor for Newcastle and the Central Coast region in Gyms Pool Care and mobile pool shops. So thanks for doing this, Jason.
No worries, Joel.
We've got a couple of beers here by the pool as well, so
Yep.
for anyone watching thinking, what are they doing with beers? It's irresponsible. It's a Friday, it'll be 3 o'clock in sunny Melbourne, Victoria in the middle of winter, which is
Absolutely.
a surprise, so we thought we'd make a benefit of it and do it by the pool here. Jason has won multiple awards, I think Rookie of the Year in the Gyms Pool Care division, Entrepreneur of the Year, and what was the other award you've won? There's another one.
Franchisee of the Year.
Franchisee of the Year as well. So Jason's a great person to have a chat to about all things gyms and business as well. And I think, Jason, you've been in roughly business so far for around 3 years, roughly?
Yeah, February 2016 is when I signed up for my franchise.
Great.
Yeah, so 2016 was the sign-up day, February, and I was the first to buy a franchise on the Central Coast in New South Wales. The next nearest franchisee was up at Newcastle, and it was a bit of a challenge. So being the first on the Central Coast, there's no previous exposure. I started off with 2 leads, and yeah, pretty much grown my business from there.
So what were you doing prior to coming to Gyms Pool Care?
I was in the police for 15 years, so it was a bit of a change in lifestyle, and that's what I was looking at for pool care. I was looking for something that wasn't government based. I always had the idea of working for myself, so prior to the police I looked at some franchises because I always had that thing in the back of my head, I don't really want to work for someone else. I grew up in a family business where my parents run their own business with some staff. I was also a little bit worried about and concerned about that because there was a few issues with that. But then I just decided to follow my childhood passion of being a policeman since I was the age of 5. So I went and ticked that box. And I suppose coming from an environment like that, it was hard for me to go and work for someone and pretty much take orders from someone. And then when I looked at a couple of different franchise models, there was a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of boxes, a lot of hierarchy, a lot of compliance stuff, guidelines. Some of the other franchises I looked at, you had to have a retail store by a certain amount of time, you had to have X amount of vans, and then, then I found gyms, and it was exactly fitted what I needed.
Because I read online that in another interview that you did a lot of research before making a decision. So what was it about gyms that was different for you?
I think the biggest thing was the brand, the Gyms brand. I mean, growing up, gyms, mowing, trailers everywhere. That was pretty much the biggest part of gyms growing up, was just the mowing. And I just happened to be scrolling through. I actually got to a point where I almost gave up. I got scrolling through, went back to an original franchise I inquired about, and I just wasn't happy. And like I said, I was ready to quit and go and work for someone and swallow my pride. And then I just stumbled on gyms, and I thought, oh wow, they do pool care. That's exactly what I was been looking at. Is the pool industry. It's something that I've always had a slight passion for. And then pretty much the thing that ticked the box for me were I wasn't told what I had to do, in a sense of if I wanted one van, I could have one van. I didn't have to have 2 by a certain time, and if there was no retail stores in gyms, which is perfect for me because I didn't really want to have that responsibility of a shop. But pool care ticked the other boxes for me because it's a labour. It's got its labour component and it's got its retail component, but it's mobile. So I don't have the overheads. I don't have to employ staff if I didn't. And the final box tick for me was the flat fee every month. It wasn't percentage income based.
So a lot of the other ones percentage income based, they weren't the flat fee model.
Absolutely, and it's quite funny because the first financial year of business, you reach the 250 plus. You sort of compare that to how much your flat fee is over the 12 months compared to if I had gone with one of my competitors at 13%.
Well, 13% was one of the other models.
It was a huge difference.
Yep.
And that's pocketing my family, that's money in my family's pocket, which just continues to tick the box for me.
So how long was it before you actually made the decision? So you're in the police force for 15 years and there's a moment when you go, right, enough is enough, I need to go do something. So how long was it between actually thinking about doing something to doing it?
Oh, look, to be honest, I think it's always in the back of my head. Even when I was in the police, it's something always in the back of your mind of there's got to be something better than life, okay? And I think whether or not it was part of me growing up in my family business, or it's just one of those things that some people have in the back of their mind all the time. What if I should work for myself? Maybe better if I work for. I'm sick of working for other people. I'm sick of people telling me what to do. I think I can earn more working for myself. So those things went over my mind for years, and it just got to a point where enough is enough. The other trigger was family and lifestyle. When you get your kids telling you you're always grumpy, you're always tired, you're never home on weekends, you're always working nights, that sort of ticks that box for you, and to get away from shift work. And that was the other beauty of the gym's model, is that you can suit your own hours. If I want to work a Saturday and Sunday, I can. Whereas I choose not to now. For the first 2 years I worked 6 days a week, but that was part of my goal setting, is to work hard for 2 years to get to back to the income I was previously on.
So you got back to that level within around 2 years, you would say?
18 months, 2 years.
18 months to 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So in that first, you said earlier you started with just 2 leads in a completely new area. 'Cause I don't think Jim's Pool Care was in the U Minor or in the Central Coast Newcastle area, so you're the first one there. So as soon as that day one comes and you go, oh, I'm in business for myself now, what did you do?
Yeah, so there was none on the Central Coast. There was 2 in
Okay, 2 in Newcastle.
Sorry, there's 1 in Newcastle, and there was another bloke signing up with me that was going into Newcastle. Yep. So it never touched Central Coast, and I remember that day clearly. 'Cause, you get your van signed up, and it's part of your business in a box package. It's all exciting stuff. Your van stocked with chemicals, and there's a lot of pride in that. I've achieved it. And then I was driving down the M1 highway, heading back towards my territory with my 2 leads in my hand that my franchisor gave me. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've got 2 leads, And then reality kicked in. And it's like, whoa, what have I done? Seriously, I've left an income of near 3 figures a year. I've got 2 leads, I've got no customers. How am I going to feed my family next week? But in the back of my mind, I got pay for work guarantee. I can use that. So yeah, it was very daunting. So I went and saw these 2 leads, as I was encouraged and trained to do, with a smile on my face. And funny enough, those first two leads are still regular clients of mine to this day.
Wow. From
February 2016. Very, very loyal customers. And then basically from then, I think it took about with Pool Care, you get in part of your business box, you get a mail out. So if anyone comes on board with Pool Care, we've got a list of pool owners within your territory, and we do a direct mail out to those owners. So I knew that was in the pipeline, that was ready to land in people's letterboxes, and it took about 3 or 4 days, and then the phone just went crazy. It went crazy for about 2 or 3 days, and then it just went quiet, and I thought, oh dear, what's happened? What have I done again? That whole psychological process. Spoke to my franchisor, and he said, remember what we learned in training, let's look at things, how things can be done. So I went back to and revisited my training and the system in place. Spoke to a couple of other guys, what works, what doesn't, and I followed the system. That's because I think it's easy for people to go, I'll do it my way, or I'll change something, whether it's the way you're brought up or the type of personality you are. But I just thought, no, I'll try this. Someone else has tried this for 11 years, but I think it's long Pool Care's been around. Why reinvent it? So that's what I did. I just ticked off my daily list of things to do to grow your business, and that's how it all started.
So we say the system a lot, and it's not a hidden thing. So let's talk about some of those elements. Let's say on that daily checklist that you had. So you got a checklist to work on your business. Can you tell people what were some of those things you had to do to build your business in the early days?
on that list is part of that list is referral. Ask for a referral. So I tried the, here's my business card. If you've got any friends or neighbours, here's one for you and one for them. And that worked. It's amazing. Oh, Joe next door said you're a wonderful bloke. I've been, with this other company 2 years and they've let me down. Come and have a look. Visit real estates in my area. I'd done a list of, I did a lot of research before I brought the business, and I had 19 real estates in my territory. So I just got the list out and I went and knocked on every door.
So you're proactive, got in your front of them?
Yep. And that was hard for me, coming from my previous occupation, was to knock on people's doors and chat to people in a positive way. And it's a hard gig, but I had my franchisor right behind me the whole way. It was always a phone call away. Nothing was ever a drama. So, go out and visit your real estates. I found some really busy intersections in my area, and I would get the paper and the newspaper at a coffee of a morning and just park my van there.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
and not instantly, but 3-4 days later, the phone rings. I saw you, having a coffee down in the corner the other weekend. Brilliant. But yeah, customer follow-up was one of my biggest on the list that I was pretty good at.
But you were very proactive, because a lot of people might sit back and just wait for the leads. But you just you did all the local area marketing, you got out there in front of people. So what was the main driver for that? Was that because you knew you had to make this work, or you had the family to worry about, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, going into your business is a scary thing. It's if anyone says going into your business for yourself is so easy, well, I'd love to see where their business is today without any sort of backup from a system like Jim's, and I think by going with Jim's was the security. But my main reason for getting back to making my business successful is my goals. So goals from day one. I need to get back as quick as I can to the income I was before I left. That was a big passion of mine. My family. I didn't want to let my family down. It takes a lot of family support and support from your friends too to go into business for yourself. I think that if you don't have a partner behind you, or your family or some close friends behind you, I think that's crucial in a business. So you don't want to let them down. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you feel like a failure. And of course, you've got a huge financial investment in your business. So they're the driving things for me every morning from day one was I've got to get out and start earning $1,500 a week or $2,000 a week. And it just didn't take long at all, to be honest with you, following the system and just having that main drive and passion.
Now, we touched on the pay for work guarantee briefly before. Did you actually have to claim it at all?
I was tempted once, to be honest with you. I'll be honest. There was 1 month there where I was a little bit concerned. It's interesting, I think with new businesses, you go through a curve pattern when you start. So you'll start with a whole heap of new inquiries, new leads. And it's funny, at my training this week, I've been speaking to a couple of other franchisors, and they've got some guys going through this at the moment where you get a lot of good leads, you start quoting, then all of a sudden it dies for 2 or 3 days. And I went through a really bad patch of that, and I rang up my franchisor and I said, look, I think it's time, I want to tap into this pay for work guarantee, let's have a crack at this. I need some money. And we discussed my current figures, what have I done for the week. And then you basically said, all right, no worries, look, happy to pay it. Let's try and do a couple of these things in order to tick that box for pay for work. Because, pay for work isn't your franchisor just goes, here's $1,500, mate, You've actually got to prove that you've made a good effort. And be prepared to do a bit of work. So, you offer some free services, or you go and knock on some doors that you probably wouldn't have thought of. It's quite interesting. You sort of think you've done enough, and then they'll go, oh, go and do this, try that. If you do all that, Jace, come back to me, not a problem. And I'd done that, and it actually generated me more than what I would have got paid for work.
Because what people don't know is they see $1,500, let's say income guarantee or whatever, but we're actually paying you to build business by providing value to whether it be your friends, your family, your neighbour, a business, to build your business. And you're just saying that's what you're encouraged to do. It actually helps you build your business even more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm an honest guy, Joel. It can be hard for people to do that, getting out of your comfort zone. And I challenged myself a lot with that. There were days where I just wanted to quit. I thought, I don't care how much I paid for this business. I've had it. I'm not going to go and knock on that door.
So how did you push yourself to do it? Because that's a great point what you're saying. It's something I've asked a lot of people before is, you're right, to get out of your comfort zone and to go. If you're not, let's say if you're a bit more of an introvert, for example,
Yep.
you might not want to go and knock on that door. So how did you force yourself to do that?
You just got to push. And to be honest, there was a couple of times where I go, no, I'll do that tomorrow. Oh, I'm not ready for that. Oh, I'll go and have a coffee first. So you start to procrastinate. I'll go and have some lunch first. And then before you know it, it's 4 o'clock and it's like, oh,
Done nothing,
I've
yeah.
done nothing. Oh, I brought nothing in for the day. Then it hits you and you go, bam, I've got to do this. And surprising enough, you pick up work. You may not pick it up straight away. And that's where I think a lot of guys get down. They go, oh, look, I've tried that. Well, how many times have you tried it? Oh, I went and knocked on 10 doors last week. Well, have you revisited them, or have you gone and knocked on another 10 doors? Oh, no. You've just got to be persistent and get outside that zone.
Do you think you could have done this as an independent as opposed to having a franchise behind you?
I considered doing it before I brought the franchise, and I think everyone does. Pool care, no, because I didn't really have any pool history in the industry. Now knowing what I know now and how my business has gone over the years, there's no way I could have done it. And there's a couple of guys I know that have started up their own independent businesses, and for 2 years they've been trying to give it a crack, and they're just not taking off. And I think that's as a result of they got no one behind them. They say they got suppliers behind them, but the suppliers aren't training them either. No, if I look back on it now, I might have got about 2-3 months and I would have failed.
Well, how, because you said like a wave before, like obviously in business. So how important do you think that franchisor is, especially at that down stage? Did you go onto your franchisor a lot just to see it, for support and all that sort of stuff?
I heard from my franchisor quite a lot in the beginning, which is good, and I probably hassled him more than he rang me. But in my view, I paid for that. So that was part of the Jim's group. I knew that when I signed up and paid my money, that I had someone behind me from day one. So why not utilise it? Get value for money.
In the early days, you obviously were really good at building up customer bases. How many regulars did you have let's say in the first 6 months, regular clients?
Oh, that's a bit on the spot too.
Yeah.
I would say, all right, so I started in February, first financial year. I'm just thinking of my figures. I think by the first winter I had about 26.
Okay.
So, yeah, 26 by the first winter, which was a bit scary, especially pool care being a seasonal business. It was 26 within.
So how did you get yourself through those scary moments? Because it's great that you admitted that, because the business, obviously we do these videos and obviously it's not just a purely, sales pitch, and everything is not always as bright as what may seem sometimes. So in those downsides, those negative sides, how did you motivate yourself to get out of it?
My goals.
So you kept goal setting and just
Goal setting.
You kept referring to your
Tapped
goal.
onto my franchisor.
Yeah.
With any seasonal business, I think everyone has that concern of how am I going to go off season? How's my first winter? And that's part of our training, is to teach our guys this is what we need to put in place to get through your first winter. I also had a bit of cash flow tucked away for my first winter, and I think with any business coming into any business, whether it be gyms or independent or whatever, you need to have some sort of backup financially in case it all goes bad. So I knew I had a bit of security in the back. I didn't want to touch it. But yeah, it was my franchisor that I had to tap into a lot over the first winter. I really struggled emotionally and mentally because it was all new to me, but he was there.
So franchisor, your goals, which is really important. I think we touched on this. So your goals, and obviously a bit of cash flow or cash tucked away as well, which is your 3 tips for that one.
And your family.
And your family.
You've got to have your family support. It's one of my first questions when I speak to someone on the phone that wants to buy a franchise is, have you got your family supported? Do your family know you want to buy a business? because I think that's crucial.
Is your wife involved in your business much, or what support does your wife provide for you, Melissa?
Mel's great. Mentally, emotionally, she's very supportive. She is my rock when it comes to business. I can have a real bad day and Mel will sort of whip me back into gear and off I go. Look, no, Mel isn't highly involved in the business front side, but that's my choice. I grew up with a family business, and I've seen the stresses of family business, the pros and cons. So I chose to pretty much take the reins of the business on myself, and I wanted to go home and be the husband and the father and the grandfather type thing.
Yeah. But as you said, it's a question that you ask your new inquiries, you know, is your family on side? Do you have support on side? That's the first question you ask.
Absolutely crucial.
So we also want to talk about, so in 18 months to 2 years, you've achieved your goal. So then when you achieved that goal, what was next for you after that?
Yeah, so my original goal was, I sort of considered maybe a second van after 3-4 years, and then maybe look at a region after 5. 18 months into it, I had to put a staff member on, so there's a goal tick.
Within 18 months, you had to put a staff member on, from basically nothing to 18 months staff member, right?
Absolutely. I had to, because with the labour and retail business is probably a little bit different to some other franchises, but I think it gets to a point where if the customers love what you're doing and you are good at what you do through training and stuff, and you apply yourself and you actually have a passion for what you do, your business will continue to grow. I have a bad habit of not being able to say no to people. I don't like letting people down. I actually have a good thing with gyms is there's people around there to help you. And it was either, you know, I either put someone on or stop taking on more work, let people down, because that's how I felt. I was still the only one on the coast. And I wanted to grow the brand on the coast with my 5-year plan in my mind as well, as to where I wanted to see Jim's Pool Care on the Central Coast in Newcastle in 5 years. So yeah, staff member, 18 months, and then 3.5 years later, the region come available.
Why did you want to buy a region? Because if franchisee, you're doing well, you've got one employee on the road, you're making really good money, then why did you want to then go and do a region to add something else into it?
I looked at the opportunity. Here's a region, my region, for sale. There's at this stage there was myself, 2 others on the central. There's 3 of us on the Central Coast, 3 in Newcastle, and 1 in Maitland. And there was that part of me that I didn't really want an outsider coming in. I just saw a way of grabbing this region and creating it mine, the way that I would like to see it. And I would like to see, you know, Jim's Pool Care very dominant in my region. There's a lot of other independent businesses in my region that are not, I won't say they're not successful, they're just, the customer service standard is in some areas very low. And that niggles me, because it's like the clients deserve a bit better. So that's where the passion was. I want to provide the Central Coast in Newcastle and the Hunter or whatever, to have better customer service in the pool industry, because the pool industry can in some ways have bad name.
So how many franchise owners do you have at the moment in your region?
There's 6 plus myself, which is 7. So I run my franchise a bit separate to my franchisor business. I just like to do it that way. Some guys combine it. So yeah, there's 7 of us, and so I bought the region 1st of July this year, and within 2 weeks I signed up my first guy. So
within 2 weeks you sold your first franchise?
Yeah, an inquiry come through, and he'll be signing up in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So he'll make the 8th. The 4th on the Central Coast.
Within 2 weeks?
Yeah. And you know, he did a lot of research. We're very identical in that way. I really didn't have to do a lot of talking, because I can talk if you give me the chance. He'd done a lot of his homework and research, and he found a very strong connection and attraction to the Jim's group.
Well, with Jim's Pool Care, let's just talk a bit more about what does an actual franchise owner get. So we always say do the inquiry and we'll give you this or whatever, but what did they actually get with the Jim's Pool Care franchise?
Yeah, so with pool care, some people look at our franchise and go, that's a little expensive. It's more expensive than some other divisions in the gyms group. So with pool care, when they sign up and they pay their money, part of their sign up and the cost of entering pool care is $25,000 of that is what we call a business in a box. So that's basically the training, their accounting software, anything to sort of start up their little business, right down to, folders, pens, paper, all the stuff they need to do the admin from day one. But it's also got, pallet of salt, pallet of liquid chlorine, pallet of acid, all your chemicals for your pools. It'll come with a couple of pumps, some filters, some chlorinators, basically everything you need to start day one. So day one, you're in your van, you're proud, you've got the little cap on. You've got everything you need in the back of your van to address a customer's need on the first job. And that's how we like it. So we don't want them turning up to their first inquiry and saying, Mrs. Jones, your pump's broken, we'll let you wait for a week until we get one in. We like our business owners to be prepared. So yeah, 25 grand of that is a bulk of getting you ready for day one. That's the retail part of it. That's the good part.
Let's talk about that, because obviously Jim's Pool Care, people might just think you're pool cleaners, but you're actually mobile shops as well. So when you talk about that mobile shop side of your business as well, the retail part, which you do have a bit of a passionate for.
Absolutely. A mobile shop that comes to you is what we sometimes advertise it as. So yeah, so people go, I want a pool cleaned, or, you clean pools, and they give you that look like, oh, you clean pools.
I think you get out with the old thing and just
like
pull a few leaves out.
Your Barat bikini and stuff like that.
The old Juice Bigelow, yeah.
We do clean pools. Happy to clean pools, but there's more of that. So yeah, we can clean your pool, more than happy to. But with the mobile shop that comes to you is what we promote. We are very much identical to your local pool shop. So you go into your local suburb, you go and take your little water in, get your water tested while you're there. You might want to buy a blanket, get that measured up. You might want to upgrade your chlorinator. There's a new robotic that's come out. All that looks fascinating. What can you tell me about that? I might grab one of them while I'm here. But you've got to go and do that. You've got to make that effort on a Saturday morning to go out and do that, whereas we can bring it all to you. And that's the part of the business that I enjoy. The good thing is that by getting Jim's Pool Care to come to your house, you've got the local expert, or the guy who knows his stuff, because all our guys go through a Cert 3 in swimming pool and spa care, so we know our stuff.
So there's a full certificate, full course.
Absolutely,
everyone does, right?
It's a must do, because there's a difference between a pool cleaner and a certified pool tech, and that's what we promote ourselves as, certified pool tech. So we're a little bit more qualified than your average guy. So we have product knowledge, and we have some great preferred suppliers with Pool Care. They've been with us for a number of years. Great products, great warranty, and great training. They invite us along to their training sessions, and the sales reps, it's just a phone call away. I've got this massive job, pool like this, we need new heating. Sales rep will come on site with you, speak to the owner and say, look, this is the best product for you.
So the actual sales rep will come out with you and to the customer's house?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's a great point of difference.
You just got to ask. Some guys go, I never hear it. You just got to ask. It's one of those things is, you don't know if you don't ask. But not only that, we learn the products. So by being on site with the clients, we can have a pump in our van at the time. So in summer is our peak time. Pool's starting to go a bit green, families coming for a barbecue on the weekend, it's Friday lunchtime, my pool pump's just died. We'll bring one straight to you and we'll plumb it in, get you back on your feet. But I think by coming to them, it's in their environment, so they're more comfortable to ask you questions instead of being in a shop. There's a lot of pressure. I know myself when I go to buy clothes, I hate buying clothes. I don't like salesmen coming up to me and probing the questions, oh, how come and have a look at this, come and have a look at this, whereas we're on their territory, so they have the control. And it's just being honest with them. You always give them options. And yeah, I like the retail side of it, and that's why I chose Pool Care.
So I want to talk to people about the training now. So people, obviously you do more than the 3-day generic training. So we're here in Melbourne at the training complex.
Yep.
But when you go away after the 3 days, what type of training do you guys do?
So we'll do 2 weeks in the van, Monday to Friday, 10-day workbook they also get. They get a little workbook that they've got to work through whilst in the field training. Depends on how they go with the training. We might sort of let them go out and have a little bit of a taste themselves. Give them a couple of leads to go off and whatever. But yeah, so there's the Melbourne training, there's our intense training. They've got to go through a pool school as well with us. So we have an actual pool school exam. So we've got it's sort of a real mini version of the Cert 3. So they've got to know their chemistry, yeah? We're not going to let our guys go out on the field and start their own business without us being confident that they can do the job. So water chemistry in our business is the biggest. And then from there, we basically, if they're doing okay on their own, they still have a little assessment book to do. We enrol them in Cert 3 in swimming pool and spa care through Spaza, Australia. They run that for us. Spaza training organisation keeps in touch with them as well. But the suppliers will do a couple of training sessions as well. We're all invited. That doesn't cost us anything, which is brilliant. So there's always ongoing training available for them. And we also hold our franchise meetings every 6 weeks. As a franchisor, we must do that. And the guys get involved in that, and we might get a supplier to come down and do a little training session on that as well.
So it's just constantly ongoing training on products or on new things coming out all the time.
Absolutely, and it's interesting because I had a franchise inquiry before I come down here, and that was the one and only question he asked me. He wouldn't tell me where he was from. He just wanted to know, what training do you supply to me if I buy a franchise?
Now obviously you come from an completely unrelated industry into pool care, so do you think that training, that was the best thing for you to get you going?
Yeah, because coming from that industry, training was a massive thing. You've always got to do new training, refresh training, because if you're not trained well, you're not going to go well. If you're trained up and then just let go, there's going to come a time where you're going to fizzle out a bit. Yeah, you're going to start to drop the ball. Whereas the gym's training was big for me because I knew I had the support, and I knew that there was a part of the franchisor role, or my franchisor role, was to continue to educate me. So that I felt confident that I would be armed with the information that I needed. And I think that Cert 3 is very important, especially in today's society. People like to know you're educated.
I want to talk a bit more about what a franchisor is. So there's obviously a lot of information about what franchisees are, but you are a franchisor. So maybe you want to talk about what actually, as a franchisor, you do, and what as a franchisor, by ways of support you provide to your small business owners, your franchise owners.
Yeah, so the franchisor role is to be a mentor. In my eyes, this is my eyes, is to be a mentor, a trainer, a colleague as well. And there's times where you become a friend, because business can be a difficult thing, and you have your ups and downs, regardless of how successful your business is. You can have the best business in the world, but you're going to have bad days. But as a franchisor, my role is to support my guys in that. With gyms, we've got to do proactive contacts at least once a month. I personally like to ring my guys at least once a week. My role as a franchisor is to keep in regular contact with them, support them in anything that they need.
From the outside looking in, from working at National for a while, pool care has a really good culture. You can tell when you look at the conference photos, everyone's smiling, there's no forced smiles, everyone's mingling around. Why do you think Jim's Pool Care and Mobile Pool Shops has such a good culture? It's an open-ended question, but it's very tough.
Yeah, no, look, I think it starts with your franchisor, and that's been dead set honest. I think you need to click with people, and with pool care, I don't think I've met anyone at a conference that's been sour. Everyone's happy, majority of them are family-orientated people. We're a very family-orientated division. And nothing's ever a problem. Everyone's open, friendly. There's never been anyone say, "Oh, mate, I'm not interested," or, I don't have the time for you at the moment. You ring them up. So, do you want me to ring you back? Because you can hear them, doing filters and, vacuuming pools or pulling chemicals out of their vans. They're like, no, you're right. And they'll stop doing what they're doing and they'll help you. And I think it also boils back to the divisionals. Kelly and Brett are just a warm, open, family-orientated, friendly, funny bunch of people.
So for anyone watching, what a divisional we're referring to is the divisional franchisor, Brett and Kelly are here, who are responsible for the division and own it.
Yep.
Then you have regional franchisors like yourself, and within regional franchisors, then under that you have franchisees. So you're responsible for multiple franchise owners as well. So
Absolutely.
You're right, it all starts from the top.
Absolutely.
Think of them as like your head coach, I guess.
Yeah, if you don't have a good leader at top, it just falls. It flows down like a virus.
And Brett didn't pay me anything for that. I'm just saying that because that's objectively what I've been
Well,
seeing.
I think I'll invoice him for that bit.
There we go.
Yeah, and then it boils down to your franchisor. So, Brett and Kelly can only do so much as a divisional. They've got a busy life. It's a big division, over 100 people to look after and to oversee, and always in contact with suppliers. Brett's always looking for the best deals with our suppliers, but not so much the best for price, but quality. We only want quality stuff in pool care. We don't want any rubbish, okay? That's how we're strong at, which also builds up the culture. The people like someone behind them making sure they're getting the best deal with the great products. But it also goes down to your franchisors. So Brett, the divisional has these franchisors that then have to look after franchisees. If the franchisees aren't happy, the franchisor's the one they look at, yeah? If you don't have a good franchisor behind you, well then there's problems as well.
So I want to talk about now, you said before, but you're big on goal setting, which is great to hear. A lot of really successful people write down their goals, and that's what you've referred to when you're struggling back to your goals, which is great. So now you're in a really good position. What's your goals for the next 5 years?
Your goals are important. I think if you don't have goals, it allows things to be made up, I think. I think you've got to fluke it all. You always got to have something in the back of your mind. So my goal in the next 5 years, I'd like to still be in pool care. I love the pool care division. I've sticky beaked around at a few other divisions. Sorry, Brett, but businessmen do. Every businessman looks at opportunities around them, and you'd be crazy to admit that you don't. But I love the pool care brand. I love Brett and Kelly's as divisionals. They're really good people. But in 5 years, ideally I'd like to purchase another region for pool care. That is my goal.
I'm sure Brett's happy to hear that.
Don't know where yet, close to home. I'll continue on as a franchisee. So I'm a working franchisor, so I still have my own franchise.
So how many jobs are you still doing a week?
Me personally, in the winter months, I'm only doing probably 20, 30 services a month myself. I have a staff member that does pretty much a majority of my service work, but we've got 120 odd regulars. 3 of them are commercials, just ordered another weekly commercial. So I'm not as active on the servicing part, but I still like my franchise because coming summer, that's when I'm doing all the green pools and the chlorinators and the sales and the pumps and stuff like that. And I enjoy that stuff. I love helping people. So I'd like to still have my own little franchise, probably look at downgrading it, downscaling it, so I can grow my territory. I'd like to focus more on my franchisor business in the next 5 years, especially after this training. It's a bit of a wake-up call for me to sort of focus where I need to focus my energy. Because I would like in the next 5 years to grow a really successful region. All my guys are happy, and I like to keep them happy. But I would like more happy people in that area, because I think there's a lot of potential in that region.
Have you got any last words of advice for anyone thinking about buying a franchise, a Jim's Pool Care franchise, or just taking that leap into some business for their own selves? Any advice for anyone?
Yeah, look, if anyone's just sitting there at home going, should I, shouldn't I, make the call. The beauty about gyms is we've got nothing to hide. We're honest, we're open. If you're interested in pool care and you're just sitting on that fence, give us a call. Go and spend half a day or a full day out in a van with one of our guys. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost them. They're happy to have someone on the road with them for the day. You know?
So trial day, yeah, there's no obligation. I'll just come out for a trial day, get in the van, see what it is.
All it does is cost you your time and commitment. And you know by the time you get to lunchtime on that first trial day whether you want it or not. And look, if you don't like it, thanks for coming along. We're proud to have given someone the opportunity. But just make that step, because it's a scary step, but you'll never regret it.
But you're looking back now going, what was I, you know?
I should have done it 10 years ago. And that's dead set. I should have done it 10 years ago, both mentally and physically and for my family. Okay. Absolutely.
So there you go, guys. Now, thank you for this chat, Jason. It's been great.
Yep.
Time to get stuck in these beers a bit more.
Absolutely.
But if you're up in the central and the central coast of Newcastle area, Jim's Pool Care, looking for obviously a service or even a new business opportunity, Jason's your man, and the Pool Care division is a great one. So 131546, or punch in Jim's Pool Care and Mobile Shops into Google, and a lot of Facebook pages, and their website will come up as well. But thanks again, Jason. Now it's time to have a beer on a Friday here at Jim's Group National Office. But hope to see you next time, and take action if you're thinking about it. Jason, we haven't really scripted this. This is all Jason just telling you what it is. So he said he wished he did it 10 years ago. We hear that a lot when we do these types of things. So you're just thinking about it, 131546 or jims.net, multiple divisions, and see what opportunity awaits for you.